Welcome back to the TGS kitchen, guys. Today we are making pheasant risotto. Pheasant is a difficult meat, right? It's quite easy to make dry. It's quite easy to make it taste pretty average, if not sub-average. And risotto is a great way of utilizing the entire carcass and actually employing its pheasantiness to full effect. Starting, I made a game stock, right? So I took the breast and the meat off, and we'll look at those later, but put all of the bits, the fat, the skin, the bones, and a bit of the carcasses you usually wouldn't be bothered to cook except for all the tendons and just bony difficulty. We put that in with 4 cloves of garlic. That goes in with a fully chopped onion, a chopped carrot, a chopped celery stick, some salt, some pepper, all topped off with just over a litre of water, and I chucked a beef stock cube in just to add a little bit more meatiness and also speed up the process because stock can take usually more like 3 or 4 hours, but I wanted to get this done, well, I had an hour. And often when it comes to cooking, I don't know, from a personal perspective, you just kind of work with what you've got. So whilst that bubbles away and it's very near complete, I'm going to chop myself up an onion and some garlic. Other ingredients you need, well, it's not that many, right? You need some pheasant, you need some mushrooms. I've got some dried mushrooms. It's a mixture of portobello, porcini, and black trumpet. I've got some grated parmesan, and I've got some risotto rice as well as butter and olive oil. That's it. Oh, and some fresh parsley. You can add thyme, you can add whatever you want to this, but it's a pretty simple thing. There's not a huge amount of ingredients. You do end up with a rich, delicious, creamy thing that anybody can enjoy. So, without further ado, let me, well, sweat away on a super hot day over a hot stove. Let's prep up an onion. I always feel a bit of pressure cooking Italian food anyway, let alone now doing it with a camera, because I have quite a few Italian friends at this point, and when it comes to being judgmental, we were talking, I was actually out in Italy a couple of days ago for a few days, and there's a huge series of actual real-life hanging offences if you break certain things in Italian cooking, and what was fairly entertaining is Sash then over dinner decided to put, what did he put? He put parmesan on a cake, and he put olive oil in his espresso, and as much as it was quite funny, you could see genuine pain in their eyes. Recently, I've actually taken up not using fresh garlic and not using paste garlic, but buying like pre-shucked bags of frozen garlic and then taking them out as a pot, defrosting them in the fridge and just using as I go. Tell you what, that's a life hack. Not having to peel garlic, plus when it's frozen, it's super smushy. It's just a superb increase on quality of life. I appreciate I've got large, fat, sausagey fingers. They're pretty dexterous, but even then, it's just so much easier to go there, bang, bing, squidge, and literally once it's squished, it turns into a mush. It's pretty good.
You can do this at any point, but before I use this pan to make the risotto, we're going to brown off the diced pheasant meat quickly in butter to increase the tastiness.
Alright, we have one feather. Let's get rid of that. Oh, it's thick and good. This is game stock. I'm going to put these dried mushrooms in. In fact, let's see what that looks like. That's a lot of mushrooms, they're gonna grow big. We'll just let those in there to soak. Look at that, doesn't that look nice? The yellow stuff on top is pheasant fat that's been rendered down. This is an end of season pheasant that was picked up from a farmer's market by a friend of mine, thanks Owen. And not one that I've shot, but you know, you can always pick the birds for the application. The thing about any kind of shooting, right? When it comes to deer, if you shoot an old deer, you do something different to a young deer. If you shoot a big, fat, heavy, meaty bird full of fat, you can do something different with it to if you shoot a younger, leaner one. And that should add a lot of richness to our risotto in the end. Okay, let's get some heat into it. We're gonna put in a equal mixture of butter. Good risottos aren't healthy in the slightest. Yeah, they're not unhealthy, right? The Italians have one of the, what is it, like the 7th longest life expectancy in the world? It's like another 4 years than us, and they eat butter and, that was quite a lot of olive oil. Olive oil and all kinds of stuff that we would consider unhealthy by some metrics, or at certain periods in history we have considered unhealthy. And the Mediterranean diet's an interesting thing. In fact, in the Beretta canteen there's a food pyramid on the wall of like healthy things and you know, a full explanation of the Mediterranean diet. And as much as me and Sash did have a good joke about various things, the fact that, you know, wheat is deemed as the devil by lots of people, and for them it's low on the pyramid, it's accepted as something that should be eaten en masse. It's just somewhat entertaining, right? They live longer than we do, so who's right? But I'm also way taller than the average Italian, so, you know, horses for courses. You want your children to grow into giants? Feed them like a proper British diet. If you want them to be healthy and live forever, pasta, vegetables, risotto, olive oil. You want to cook these bad boys down for about 3 or 4 minutes until they go soft and start to go golden. You know, the first stages of caramelization. Once we're done, in about 4 minutes time, we'll have the rice.
The kitchen is a percussion band. We're here to make a percussion song called Risotto.
Sorry. We're going to add some rice, and we're going to add it holistically. We're going to let it soak up all that butter, the olive oil, and until we get a slight translucency to the rice would be my thing before we add anything else. So, here we go. Toast it, let it become translucent, soak up some of the oil, fry it. Until I ever made my first risotto, I didn't realise why they're so delicious. And the answer is high fat content, frying. Deep frying makes everything better. Fried rice, Italian fried rice. Yeah, we got some translucency going on to some of them. This is actually happening a bit quicker than I had anticipated. But I'm going to keep going. Again, another 4 or 5 minutes. There is no rules, as far as I'm concerned. There probably is a bunch of rules. I'm just ignoring every single one of them. This is just part of the world of holistic cooking, guys. Just go in for it. Inherently, it doesn't usually end badly. I think there are certain things, like baking, can't do that holistically. Bread, can't really, well, that's a lie. I make pizza dough holistically all the time. You just kind of feel it. But, like, certain things you can't do. Something like this, it's never going to be bad. You've got butter and oil and meaty stock and meat and cheese. If your ratios are a bit out, just continue adding until it's about right. Simple as that. I think people are built different. People are just built different. Some people will buy a recipe book and follow the recipes. I own recipe books, and I really like their inspiration. I look at the pictures, I look at the titles, I'll read some of the ingredients, and occasionally I'll follow a recipe. But most of the time, more like guidelines. It's the worst Jeffrey Rush impression in the entire world. We're having some toasting on certain parts of the rice. So it is now time, guys, to add the first stock. And this is a slow process, right? You're adding, mixing, letting it soak in, and adding some more. Inherently, I feel like this is the perfect dish for a reckless cooking approach to cooking. When the stock is almost disappeared, add more stock. And continue and repeat the process. You could have got away with a bit more rice, you know. How much rice you add is a completely personal preference, right? There is probably instructions for how much you add. I added half of a bowl. There's definitely more fat in this than I'd usually have in a risotto. That was a big fat pheasant. Okay, taste test time. I think the rice still has a long way to go in terms of its growth. If it's disgusting, well. Right, that is so good. That is actually incredible. It could be the best pheasant recipe I've ever had. In terms of it tasting like it's made with pheasant. That's good use, good utilization. We like that. This is gonna be mega.
Only got one ladle of stock left to go, which I hope will be enough. All right, gang, we're on the home straight here. I'm going to chop some parsley. I'm about to put in the pheasant meat. We're going to put in a couple of tablespoons of parmesan. And you'll know the rice is ready because it will taste like it's ready. Unless you never had rice. If you never had risotto, this is going to be quite difficult for you. If it's crunchy, no. Once it starts to sort of taste like rice, then it's time to eat it. It's really hard to sort of say that. I guess my presumption is that you know how to cook rice, or at least have eaten rice once in your life. Here we go. And now mix it in, which is a lot easier in a bigger pan, for sure. I mean, we have got so lucky with the pan size here. Right, that is good to go. So before we do the next step, which is to add our chopped parsley, which can have a little taste, just see if it needs any salt, pepper, or any extras. Almost. Actually, just a little bit more. The level of cheese you add will entirely depend on your cheese addiction. I would happily add all of that and not feel too guilty over it. Let me present pheasant mushroom risotto. Look at that. Parmesan. Parsley. Bosh. This looks good. It smells good. Let's have a go, shall we? I mean, I've got a vague idea what it tastes like since I've been tasting it every 5 minutes to see whether it's ready because I'm so impatient, but... Man. That is incredible. It is by far the richest tasting risotto I have ever had. Probably to the point of being a hanging offence in Italy to have something quite this flavourful in a risotto. Definitely, the stock was good. The fact we cooked it in an hour, it is insanely flavourful. Probably for all the ingredients we put in, could have made a couple of litres of stock, but there's no complaints. You've got all of the butter, all of the oil, all the parmesan, all the pheasant fat. This is incredible. Little chunks of pheasant meat in there just to break up the texture, and they taste actually really good. They're complemented by all the things we put in there. I swear down, if you are going and shooting pheasants this year, or in fact just can get your hands on one, and you don't make this, you are nuts. That's incredible. Well, let's wrap this video up so you can try it. Guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Make some of this shit. It is genuinely the best pheasant recipe I've ever made. And I've tried a billion things. This is the peak. Wasn't even that much effort. Take care, guys.